Best documentary I've ever seen on UFOs. Definitely. I know what I saw. It didn't have. It was one of those rare documentaries that about UFOs that didn't have like the other side. They didn't have a guy going, well, it's all just mythology and it's in their minds and they're all crazy and why are they landing in Idaho all the time? Why not in big cities? And they didn't have any of those guys because it was so ridiculous because they had so many high-ranking military officers coming forward. That one case in England on a U.S. base where they had 80 witnesses, and three of the guys went up to it and touched it and wrote down notes on it, and they all came up, and the Ministry of Defense they said, this is not a concern of national defense. That's their comment. So that alone right there is pretty crazy. And those Arizona lights. I mean, people saying there was, I don't know how many witnesses, but
The Arizona Lights is pretty crazy. I know a dude who lived in Arizona saw that. He said he saw the big pyramid thing flying through the air.
and they're saying it's like bigger than aircraft
Yeah,
carrier.
he said it was like a football field.
Yeah.
He said it was gigantic. He said it was a gigantic, big pyramid shaped thing flying through the sky. Who the fuck knows? My take on UFOs is, if there really were aliens that could come here from another planet, do you think that they would be so silly that they wouldn't disguise themselves? I think a lot of the shit we see all the time could be UFOs. I told you about that crazy dude that told me that he was showing me pictures of clouds.
Yeah.
There's a dude that I know who's a comedian. He's a very nice guy. And the other day, I'm talking to him at the Improv, and homeboy says, "What do you think about UFOs?" And I said, "Well, hey, man, I don't know. I haven't seen one, but I don't discount the idea. I mean, it's certainly possible. Obviously, we have spaceships, and for someone from other planets, if they're more intelligent than us, for sure they could have spaceships." So he starts pulling out his iPhone, and the dude has like dozens of pictures of clouds on his phone. And I'm like, what is that? What do you think about this? Look at this right there. And I go, it's a cloud. And he goes, yeah, but it's an unusually shaped cloud. Look at it. And I'm like, oh no, he's crazy. I'm like, he's fucking crazy. This dude takes pictures of clouds, all different clouds, and he's convinced that these clouds are UFOs.
Yeah.
But on one hand, you got to think like, if you really are so super intelligent that you can visit from other planets, why would for sure, we're working on cloaking devices right now. There's already this Japanese jacket that's been invented that basically takes an image of what's behind you and broadcasts it on the front of the jacket. It's basically like Predator type shit. You remember from the movie The Predator?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they really have this already. I mean, it's not perfected, but we can't travel to other planets yet either. You know what I'm saying? So if someone from another planet is so much more highly intelligent than we are, that they can actually travel here from other galaxies or other solar systems, for sure they've figured something like this out. So when you're seeing the sky, I mean, it's very possible, that what you're seeing is, if there are UFOs, you would see an image of the sky behind the UFO being projected on the UFO. So you wouldn't see shit. That said, if you could take into account how many UFOs are reported, I mean, it's like there's some ridiculous amount of UFOs reported. And if you take into account how many people see and don't report, they don't say anything because they don't want to look foolish. That's a lot of goddamn UFOs. I think a lot of what people are seeing is military jets that they don't understand. Like when I was we did Fear Factor down near Edwards Air Force Base, and they had stealth bombers that flew up. Dude, you see a stealth bomber, you think that's a goddamn spaceship.
Yeah. The French government did a test with some. There was a serious review of all there's like 50,000 or something, 50,000 since a certain year. There's probably way more, but they came to the conclusion that 95% of the reported cases can be explained away with that, like military, all this high-ranking military or this top secret military planes and
Yeah.
different lights. But they said 5% most likely are aircraft from other worlds.
Well, I don't
That's
know
what
why
they
they
say.
can say aircraft from other worlds, because I don't necessarily think we have
It's more likely
a
that.
perfect inventory of what
Yeah.
exists in this
No,
world.
but they're saying that that's probably what that is more likely. It's some extraterrestrial craft then I mean there's five
Right,
percent of
but
the
just
evidence.
because it's not from our government or the Russian government doesn't necessarily mean even it's from another planet. We don't know what the fuck is in the ocean.
Well,
That
that's
sounds
true. No, no,
ridiculous,
no,
but a
totally.
lot of UFOs get sighted
Yeah, they're called
coming
USOs.
out of the
Yeah.
yeah. There was a whole History Channel documentary about that, and people go, "Well, that's ridiculous. That's nonsense. That's silly." It's silly that you could send a fucking picture that you could take this fucking thing and send a video across the sky into somebody else's phone in Australia. That's way more silly than some people from another planet have visited here, or that there's something living in the ocean.
Especially when you have guys like ex-Pentagon high-ranking officials like Philip Corso, who before he died, he wrote a book and he explained his job in the government, in the Pentagon, was taking crashed UFO stuff, taking it to like Hughes Aircraft and Lockheed and all these different aerospace companies to reverse engineer it. He's saying, he was like, there's many interviews on YouTube with Philip Corso. He's dead now. He was on Dateline, and they try to like ridicule him. But how do you? I
J.
mean,
Allen Hynek too is another excellent example of that. J. Allen Hynek was the guy who was in charge of Project Blue Book, and he was told by the government when they had this thing to explain away everything: swamp gas, mass hysteria, anything they could do to explain away UFO cases. But as he became more involved in Project Blue Book, and as he investigated more and more sightings, and dealt with more and more evidence, he became absolutely convinced that UFOs were real. So J. Allen Hynek, who is like a guy actually working to discredit UFOs, eventually came out and started supporting the whole UFO movement. So I think it's not ridiculous to think that we've been visited. I mean, we go to the Congo all the time and stare at chimpanzees. I mean, if you were from another planet and you had the ability to travel here, why wouldn't you check out people? People are fucking completely ridiculous. They're probably fascinating. I mean, what would be more? We study lower forms of animals. We always have, and we have been doing this since the beginning of time. I mean, people have always been interested in botany, and we've always been interested in studying different monkeys and different weird animals and and I mean that's the whole thing with Darwin. He took he took an account of all these different animals that he came across. We've always done shit like that, and I